we'll start with Conte because that is certainly the fresher story.
Yeah.
News breaking last night around 10 o'clock local time,
Yeah.
something like that, Jules. Antonio Conte and Tottenham part ways by mutual consent. Now, for those who weren't paying attention, there's 10 games to go in the season. They're still in fourth place, but Newcastle have games in hand over them, as do Liverpool, who are a little bit further behind. On the back of Conte's incredible rant where he accused the players of being selfish. Conte had then traveled to Italy for the international break. He stayed in Italy while they were kind of negotiating. Now, I'm not so surprised that he's gone. What surprised me, maybe shouldn't surprise us, is we assumed Ryan Mason was going to take over, but he's not. He's the assistant coach. Ryan Mason was part of his staff. Christian Stellini, who was Conte's number 2, is staying. So is, I believe, most of Conte's staff. Not all of it. Some things still TBD. I'm not sure what his brother's going to do. What do we read into this?
It's interesting because usually when you sack your manager, he arrives usually with his staff. He leaves with his staff. You pay compensation to all his assistant coaches, video analysis coaches, fitness coaches, goalkeeping, all sorts. Is it in this case the fact that Ryan Mason would have found himself on his own, basically, maybe with the staff from for the reserve team or the under 19, but basically Ryan Mason would have been the only one left. Had Conte, left with all his staff, I don't know. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe they were happy with Stellini, the job that he did, not so much in the FA Cup, but certainly in the league. Stellini was in charge when they beat Man City.
I'm gonna let you know a secret. When they played that shadow lineup in the FA Cup, it wasn't Stellini.
No, of course, but neither was against City. He was on the bench, but but still.
Well, but
I think the players like him. So maybe you say, hey, stay 10 games, and then in the summer we have a new manager. You can go back with Conte, and wherever Conte goes, you would think he would take Stellini with him still.
This is interesting to me because Stellini is not Conte's longtime assistant.
No.
He started working with Conte at Inter. This tells me that by and large, in terms of how prepared the players were, their coaching, the way they were coaching, the way they're doing their training sessions, they're substantially happy because let's let people in on a secret. Premier League teams, the manager's obviously important and he sets the culture and whatever and makes the changes, but the training sessions, the one-on-one work is done by the staff. That is who the staff see every time. It's the first team coach, right? So they would have seen Stellini and Mason. So there's a certain continuity there, which to me suggests that the issue is really just Conte, and maybe how, as many people have suggested, he didn't want to go back.
And I guarantee you, before you go on, that Daniel Levy would have spoken to Lloris, to Kane, to Dyer, probably to Højbjerg, I think, saying, okay, what do you make of Stellini? Can Stellini do it over 10 games? Would you be happy with him staying on? All that kind of stuff. And the players surely took also part in that decision making.
I think you're right. I think 100%. If the players said no, we don't like Stellini, whatever, then Stellini would have been gone.
Or we don't trust him.
He's too loyal to Conte or whatever. The backdrop to this, obviously, Conte's contract expiring at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Spurs do they had the option of another year, but Conte's always made it clear, and I think that option for another year is just window dressing. It's just insurance for Spurs. In the scenario where Conte had done really well, and then Real Madrid comes in and said, "Oh look, you got another year, pay us compensation," right? Rather than him just walking.
Completely.
So I think we can knock that on the head. The issue now is who replaces him. Obviously, Julian Nagelsmann's on the market. Everybody's losing their minds over this. Fine.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into that in the second segment of the show. The other names are the same names I feel like before. Mauricio Pochettino, who let it be known again through his friend who speaks to the media on his behalf, we both like, that, I would take the job on a permanent basis.
Happy to be back, to come back.
We obviously, Thomas Frank's been mentioned.
Yeah.
De Zerbi's been mentioned. Tuchel was mentioned, but now he's busy. Nagelsmann comes into the mix.
Luis Enrique as well.
Luis Enrique. Now, for me personally, just based on, we're going to get into this more in the Gavin Jules podcast. Off the top of my head, I think Spurs have to be slightly careful here. If you go for a big manager, I know we say, you have to commit and stuff. You have to put up with his quirks and foibles. Yeah. Nagelsmann and Luis Enrique, I think, are both geniuses. Yeah. But they have flaws like everybody else. They have foibles. Yeah. Think long and hard before you go down that route. Because if you do commit to that, you have to commit
But if you hire someone who you will let time to build, there will be up and downs in your relationship for sure over 4 or 5 years, like there was with Poch. It won't be all roses, so you'll have to take that.
I think the difference being Poch maybe a little bit humbled by what happened. Poch knows it.
Maybe.
Is a possibility. Anyway, we're going to look at this a little bit more on the Gab and Jules podcast.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.